Wow, so Donald Trump is absolutely getting crushed today, and this time it's in Europe. Check out this. EU set to halt US trade deal approval over Trump tariff risk. As you heard that correctly, halt US trade deal approval. This is coming in from Bloomberg just a few minutes ago, and now it says the European Union is poised to freeze the ratification process of its trade deal with the US and is seeking more details from President Donald J. Trump's administration on its new tariff program. This is more of the language. We're talking about suspending legislative work on approving the deal. Another language is we have no other option but to delay the approval process to seek clarity on the situation. Basically, what they're going to do is slow walk this. Absolutely, 100%. They are. Same way that India is. India is like, okay, we're not going to meet with you. You know, that meeting is off, but we'll find a mutual beneficial time in the future when it could be convenient. And someone was saying, in sort of like the language that they use, the exact language though is, I guess among Indian government, when you say that kind of stuff, it could be like a really long time. And I think for this kind of stuff, the way that the Europe's talking, what you can do, you just can keep sort of piling on, questions that you need answered and paperwork and this kind of stuff. You just slow walk it, right? And this is actually a major thing because you can see here is a big trading partner to the U.S. It says EU is the biggest source of U.S. Imports in the European Union, Mexico, Canada, and China. You can see these are all the major countries that the U.S. trades with. When you look over to the White House, they're off in Delulu land. It says here from the White House, can't stop winning. Trump then says, we're winning too much. It's just not fair. President DJT. Certainly doesn't feel like that again when India is canceling on you, and so is Europe, apparently. This is coming from the European Commission. They say, we request full clarity on the steps the United States intends to take following the recent Supreme Court ruling on the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. So the Supreme Court rules against Trump, right? It's all illegal. They call this thing IEP, actually, the Powers Act thing. And then it says EU companies and exporters must have fair treatment, predictability, and legal certainty. Because why would you want to do business or any sort of deal with Trump when everything he's doing is illegal, right? Or he could change his mind from one day to the next, tweet out something at 3 a.m. in the morning. It's just someone you can't do business with. And I said, who else is next? It looks like the UK is in this also. Europe hits back at, quote, pure tariff chaos from the US. Warning trade deals are at risk. This was actually in The Guardian today, and you can read it here. Confusion in UK and EU as Trump's 15% global tariff creates, quote, an unholy mess. An unholy mess. So that's the talk of the town is what is going on in the US, basically. It's an unholy mess. Time to just halt, freeze, whatever you got to do. It's not worth doing business with the U.S. at the moment. This is actually one of the trade people over in the EU, Maros Sokovic. He says, pleased to once again welcome Minister Nick Torfain as part of our regular exchanges in preparation of a successful EU-UK summit later this year. We took stock on the ongoing negotiations to further advance our cooperation. And they were just tweeting this out just a few minutes ago, right after the halting of the EU approval of, whatever US deal they were going for. And I don't think this is by mistake that you're now saying, hey, we're pulling back from the USA and we're getting closer to UK. Now, does that mean UK is going to be like, hey, forward trade, let's roll back Brexit, that kind of stuff? I don't necessarily think it's going to be like that. That's a really hot button issue in UK. Can you, don't you guys call it regret Brexit or regretskit? I think it's how you say it. But this is, significant that you are opening up relationships there. You check in on France. Over there, they're talking about trade bazookas and such. No, sit for real. France says EU has the tools to hit back at Trump over tariffs. And then this is where it says here, French officials said it was too early to speculate on an EU response, but options included the trade bazooka. That's what they've been calling this thing. An anti-coercion instrument, ACI, that could affect U.S. technology companies. So you could throw a bunch of regulations, tax issues. In particular, for example, you could do tons of fines on Elon Musk company for, hey, you're undressing people, and for each non-consensual, of undressing we can fine you X for each post, right? And I can add it very, very quickly. What about privacy data? What's going on with your algorithm? Please share this stuff. You could go after Google for privacy things, monopoly concerns. Apple could be in there as well. Any number of things. And Europe's also making plans to develop their own apps. And I think France was the first country. If other countries have done it, you can let me know. I think it was France though, where they're like saying, hey, we'll have local people just use local apps. So maybe you could ditch Microsoft, et cetera, and use European versions. There's certainly stuff like that. Now, it's interesting. Patel's in Europe right now. He's in Italy, of all places, in Milan, where the Olympics are. And that's the director of the FBI. And for some reason, he's like partying with the Olympic hockey team, drinking beers and celebrating the victory and wearing gold medals. Okay. And guys, I'm not against sports. I'm not against, celebrating this kind of stuff. But it seems strange. Like, what's Patel doing there? The whole thing seems strange. And there's a lot of questions like, are you doing this on, the U.S. taxpayers? I mean, like, what are you doing in Italy? If you're on your own private dime, so be it. No problem. But I think they're making the case that Patel is doing business in Italy and was kind of in the area. And they're going to say they planned this months ago. But like, you could also make the case they saw the Olympic schedule on the calendar and they try to figure, okay, how can we get out there and then go see the game? So I'll let you guys be a judge of that one, but that's clearly Patel. And it just seemed kind of weird to have him there. And, who knows? There he is. Trump was also talking to the hockey team here. The White House was tweeting this out. It says, from the White House, President Donald Trump congratulates U.S. hockey. Okay, let's have a listen. We got to listen to the call here.
And by the way, your goalie played not bad.
Howie, say hi. Howie, say hi to him.
How you doing, Don? I have seen hockey goalies have slightly worse games. It's unbelievable, and you were all unbelievable. And that team is pretty good you played. I don't know if it's not going to begin anytime soon, right? And, I tell you what, I just told my people 2 minutes ago, I didn't know they'd be calling. I said, we're giving the State of the Union speech on Tuesday night. I could send a military plane or something, but if you would like to, it's the coolest night, it's the biggest.
We're in.
Speech.
Can you pick us up in Miami on Tuesday morning?
Yeah, Tuesday morning.
Close the northern border.
So at least what it sounds like, they're going to send a military plane or something to fly Team USA, the hockey team, to attend the State of the Union address. We'll see if they can do it in time. I'll just say this. If this is what your plan is, and I'm not against hockey, I'm not against Olympics, and congratulations to teams. I wanted to make sure that that's clear. But if this is their plan, it means that it looks like they might not have had any, special guests coming to the State of the Union, and they had to like really shuffle to get anybody, because this is very last minute kind of thing, and that just shows you how they operate. I highly doubt Trump cares about these people whatsoever. This is clearly a political move, but that's what's going on. And I'm curious how the fallout from the Patel thing is going to play out. You also have this as well. Loses patience following Trump's latest tariff threat. And it's just going to be headline after headline after headline and this kind of stuff. And I'm really curious who's next. Are we going to hear from, Japan, Korea, etc.? And then at the moment, I was checking in on markets, and this one's an interesting one. What the heck's going on with Bitcoin? Trump's people are entering this stuff, right? Trump's kid in particular, was Eric showing off how much Bitcoin mining stuff they have. But it says Bitcoin falls below 65,000 in latest bout of tariff uncertainty. And basically it was like, it basically just crashed. I think it was like 4 or 5%, down quite a lot. And then bounced back up at the moment. You can take a look at year to date, down 24%. And I think it's down, I want to say, is it down like 50%, something like that, 46%. So do watch this stuff, because like all these things are connected, right? Where's the money flowing, etc. And then ultimately the big winners at the moment, this is also coming in from Bloomberg, China, India among winners after U.S. court blocked Trump tariffs. And you're going to see this like reorganization of trade going around the world. Like I showed you the picture of the EU and the UK. That's not by mistake. They know what they're doing. They're sort of sending messages subtly. And then I think the way that countries will play it, like, again, they're going to slow walk it, pile on a bunch of administrative paperwork. Oh, well, before we do any sort of deal, we need some clarification on this and clarification on that. And then, the U.S. may send some sort of document. It takes a couple of weeks for the, EU or whoever to get back, and then say, okay, we had some more questions on this stuff. And it is, you can drag it out. Of course you can. And, especially given the state of the way it's going, Trump will change his mind, or what he's doing is illegal as it is. So best stamp pat and effectively build partnerships with other countries. And that's what you see in countries do. So that's my thoughts on this. Be careful out there. I do appreciate your time. And I'll catch you all in the next video.